300 men signed up to win the Bunyan Derby with $25,000 on the line. A race so brutal, a third of them dropped out before it barely began. But Andy Payne, the 20-year-old Cherokee man from Oklahoma, would not give up that easily. Sure, Andy made it through the Mojave, but by the time he reached Arizona, he had tonsillitis, a high fever, and had to push himself over brutal mountain elevations nearing 7,000 feet. And again, he's not running on fully paved roads. Today, we've got over 2.5 million miles of paved public roads across the US, right? What exists of Route 66 today? Completely paved. When Andy was running, he was lucky if the road had any gravel, bricks, or tar on it. There were long stretches that were just dirt roads. Running this race was a massive challenge.
They averaged somewhere around 40 miles per day for each day of this race. So that's a marathon and a half every single day for the entirety of this race. You had to win this race by being persistent and never giving up. The attitude of never giving up is very much in his Cherokee heritage. That is a Cherokee mentality. So as Andy came through, he saw that he could outpace people not by running fast, but by running a pace that was described like a fast hurdle.
But hey, how much worse could it get for Andy than dirt roads, high elevation, a fever, and tonsillitis? Yeah. Just as the runners reach New Mexico, they get caught in a brutal sandstorm that stretches 49 miles from Laguna to Las Lunas. Do you know how awful it is to be in a sandstorm, let alone run in one? Low visibility, 60 miles per hour winds made up of sand, rocks, and pebbles just ripping through your skin. Many runners lost their way, veering off Route 66 and finding themselves God knows where once the dust had literally settled. Sometimes it was so thick, visibility ranged from nothing to 50 feet. That's a description of what it was like to be caught in one of these storms. Except this wasn't spoken by any of the runners of the Bunyan Derby. This was the experience 2 years later of someone traveling Route 66 through the Dust Bowl of the Great Depression.
But when the dust does blow, your land won't snow. You pack your truck and drive away.
In the early to mid-1930s, severe dust storms and droughts devastated the Great Plains. Farms failed and crops were destroyed, displacing hundreds of people who decided to migrate west for a better life. Route 66 cut right through the Dust Bowl region. Entire families traversed these roads, immortalizing Route 66 as a symbol of both hardship and hope. This is where the highway takes on a new identity as the Mother Road, a symbol later made famous in John Steinbeck's classic novel, The Grapes of Wrath.
And many of those people were Cherokee. Many of those people were like Andy Payne, who saw going west was a place of opportunity for him. People loading everything they had and just taking out on a hope and a prayer and trying to go to where they could find some way to earn a living and help their family survive.
It's such a strange comparison when you watch footage of the Bunyaneers running through these vibrant, cheering towns. Only 2 years later, those same people would be devastated by the Great Depression. For Andy, surviving the sandstorm must have been a huge relief, but little did he know that the race's biggest obstacle was about to be revealed. CC Pyle. Remember, as the race moved further and further east, CC Pyle was desperately trying to figure something out. How was he going to get the $25,000 prize money before the end of the race?
CC Pyle was actually a very well-known sports promoter, and he was absolutely brilliant at promoting the race. I wouldn't say he was nearly as good at managing the race, but he was brilliant at promoting the race.
See, his initial plan was to raise the money along the way through all kinds of different schemes, like selling the program for the race. This was a 20-page magazine that was mostly just photos of the runners, for which Pyle charged 25 cents, almost $5 today. He had intended to sell 1 million copies, but he didn't, not even close. No one was buying.
He made it into a true spectacle by having a traveling carnival that went with it. Basically, a tent city in every town that they stopped at was erected every night.
Pyle expected people to pay for entry. Not enough did. To Andy and his fellow runners, the carnival was a distraction. but it was in many ways a precursor to the roadside attractions of Route 66. Besides neon signs, this is the thing people know Route 66 for now. There's a giant blue whale statue in a lake a zoologist built in 1972. Or if you're feeling up to it, hop on over to the Big Texan Steak Ranch, where a giant bull statue asks visitors to take on their "if you can eat our 72-ounce steak in one sitting, it's free" challenge. They might have also loved to stop at America's very first McDonald's, if it had been 1940. But my personal favorite has to be the 50,000-year-old meteor crater in Arizona. That is regarded as one of the most recognizable and best preserved meteorite impact sites in the world. But for now, there was just a Grifter's Carnival. And while the carnival was a distraction, it was Pyle's other antics that would directly impede Andy Payne's run for glory. See, Pyle expected towns to pay for the privilege of the race coming through their town. Most towns said no. What was he gonna do, take the race off Route 66? Well, yes. When the race got to Albuquerque, the city refused to pay, so Pyle diverted the race 200 miles off of Route 66. Adding 200 more miles out of spite, the runners were pissed. Some of them were so angry they deliberately slowed down, forcing Pyle to pay staff more for the extra time. The race was falling apart, the runners were dropping out, Pyle was almost broke, there was no prize money, and yet Andy Payne was about to take the lead.